Did you know that ancient modern humans once lived in harmony with extraterrestrial beings, including the Anunnaki, integrating with them in legendary advanced civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria? Various species of primates and early humans, such as Neanderthals and Homo erectus, were said to have been engineered by extraterrestrial, seeding races like the Arcturians, Pleiadians, Sirians and Lyrans, with the Nibirian royals later refining them into the Adamic human. Recent discoveries and long-hidden truths suggest that the myths surrounding the lost cities of Atlantis and Lemuria may be rooted in real historical events. These revelations challenge our understanding of human origins and the legends of ancient civilizations. For over 10,000 years, whispers of an ancient conflict have lingered in human memory, immortalized in texts like the Chronicles of Akakor. They speak of a cataclysm that consumed the legendary continents of Lemuria and Atlantis, a devastation sparked by a nuclear war. At the heart of this tale lies the enigmatic Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were no mere gods. They were an alien race, creators of humanity through the manipulation of DNA, enslaving their creation to serve their needs. The Chronicles of Akakor unravel the story of two divine races, their once peaceful coexistence unraveling into hostility. The four corners of the earth were red. The text recounts. The two races of gods started to dispute. What followed was a war that reshaped the earth and its civilizations forever. Centuries later, another thread of this enigmatic past emerged in J.J. Benitez's book, The Visitors. Benitez chronicles the abduction of scientist Daniel W. Fry on the night of July 4, 1959. Aboard the alien craft, Fry heard a startling revelation. His captors were descendants of an ancient race that once thrived on a land called Mu. They spoke of another forgotten civilization, the Atlanteans, whose power and ingenuity once rivaled their own. In the early 20th century, the famed mystic Edgar Cayce shared his visions of Atlantis. Through his telepathic insights, he painted a vivid picture of an extraordinary culture, its lifeblood drawn from a mysterious technology called the Firestone. In our great city, he described, we harnessed the Firestone's energy through advanced mechanics. Our domed power station concentrated the stone's rays via prisms. This energy propelled our crafts through induction similar to your remote radio control. Though invisible, the rays powered vehicles through the air, on land and sea. Carefully aligned, the stone's forces regenerated human bodies and fueled industries. Cayce also foresaw the rediscovery of Atlantis. The position as the continent Atlantis occupied is that as between the Gulf of Mexico on the one hand and the Mediterranean upon the other, he predicted. Evidences of this lost civilization are to be found in the Pyrenees and Morocco on the one hand, British Honduras, Yucatan and America upon the other, the British West Indies or the Bahamas, and a portion of Seine that may be seen in the present. If the geological survey would be made in some of these, especially or notably in Bimini and in the Gulf Stream through this vicinity, these may be even yet determined. In 1939, Cayce's prophetic words pointed directly to the waters of Bimini in the Bahamas. Decades passed, but his vision would bear fruit. In 1968, explorers discovered the Bimini Road, a formation many believe could be remnants of the once great Atlantis, lying silent beneath the waves. Thousands of years before Lemuria and Atlantis, the Lyran colonies were decimated by the polarizing Draconians. Explosions tore through the delicate balance of creation, causing genetic mutations and evolutionary digressions among all extraterrestrial humanoids. Race wars erupted as different beings struggled to adapt to the damage. In the aftermath, the Elohim and the Founders, custodians of divine order, convened to salvage humanity's destiny. They decided that they would create a new humanoid species based from the Lyrans, and this would continue its evolutionary path back to balance, but with a heavy cost. To protect the higher dimensions from the distortions caused by humanoid genetic damage, all souls that would be born humanoid from this point forward would be sealed off from the higher realms. This separation severed access to the original 12-strand DNA consciousness, splitting the particle and antiparticle selves and plunging future and modern-day humanity into a state of duality and disconnection. Healing would come only through unifying these fragmented aspects, starting with the Lemurian soul fragments tied to the second dimension and chakra, and the Atlantean fragments anchored in the third dimension and conscious mind. As humanity continued to reincarnate through the cycles of time on planets such as Mars, as Martians, and various extraterrestrial humanoid lives, the process of reconciling their soul fragments and mending the emotional and morphological distortions began. It was the sacred task of the founding seeding alien races to collect and integrate these lost pieces, bringing together remnants from each seeding and root race cycle to reclaim wholeness. After the near destruction of the Avalon colony, the partile founders and select advanced extraterrestrial races decided to move their humanoid experiments to Sirius B. This relocation was intended to continue their work, integrating masculine and feminine polarities, but now free from the interference of the reptilians. While the plan was only partially successful, it led to a deeper division among the humans of Sirius B. Their identity evolved, and they came to be known as Sirian humans, distinct from their Lyran ancestors. From the Sirian humans, three distinct humanoid groups emerged. The first group, known as the Etheric Sirians, or Anunnaki, were a bright, non-physical, spiritually inclined people. They focused on healing and the pursuit of esoteric knowledge and embodied the feminine polarity, honoring the Lyran way of life. Their leader was the wise and revered Emilius. The second group, known as the peaceful physical Sirians, chose to remain in tangible physical form. They are mainly characterized by tall, lean physiques and elongated head shapes. Their skin tones evolved into rich, dark hues, adapted to the intense UV radiation from Sirius's hot stars, distinct from the environments of the Pleiades or Arcturus. This group embraced a masculine polarity, emphasizing strength, honor, and physical prowess as core principles in their development on Sirius. The third group emerged as the Sirian hybrids of Anak, later known as the native Nabirians, and once were the leaders of the Anunnaki races of Sirius and Orion under King Anu's rule. They were primarily dark, blue-skinned, muscular, royal warrior race, blending the lineage of Lyrans and reptilian ancestry from Tiamat. However, their alliance with the Draco Empire and repeated violations of the Emerald Order's codes placed them under probation by the Galactic Federation. Their controversial actions and the resulting consequences will be explored further in this episode. Concerned by the continued imbalance, the higher dimensional founders and the spiritual hierarchies decided to relocate both Sirian groups again. This time, they were sent to separate destinations to further the work of polarity integration and to fulfill the Emerald Order. The etheric Sirians were assigned to Tiamat, while the masculine-oriented, peaceful, physical Sirians were sent to Alm in the Orion constellation, home to the reptilians. It was hoped that proximity to the reptilians would enable the physical Sirians, now called Orion, humans, to better understand their masculine nature. However, this relocation led to tension. The reptilians, unhappy with the new colony in their domain, initiated conflicts that escalated into battles. The Orion colony was nearly destroyed, and the human settlers were enslaved by the reptilians. Over time, the colony was rebuilt, but the struggle for polarity integration continued. In response to the enslavement, a resistance movement arose among the Orion humans. Known as the Black League, this small group sought to overthrow their reptilian oppressors. Eventually, a faction of the Black League escaped Orion and sought refuge on Tiamat, hoping for a fresh start. Meanwhile, the etheric Syrians had settled on Tiamat. To fulfill the role of planetary guardians, the founders introduced a new land guardian race, aquatic primates. The etheric Syrians took on the responsibility of nurturing these beings, overseeing their spiritual and physical development. Over time, some etheric Syrians began inhabiting the animal bodies of Tiamat, becoming deeply intertwined with their creations. This raised concerns among the remaining etheric Syrians, as prolonged embodiment risked causing them to forget their etheric origins and become trapped in physical forms, an echo of humanity's current spiritual amnesia on Earth. Due to the cosmic law of free will, intervention was limited. To address the situation, a portion of the etheric Syrians formed the Christos Syrians, establishing the office of the Christos within the planetary spiritual hierarchy. Their mission was to rescue their brethren who had become bound to the physical realm, a process expected to span millions of years. At this juncture, the reptilians, upon learning of Tiamat's viability for colonization, arrived on the planet. They encountered the developing human primate civilization under the watchful care of the etheric Syrians. This set the stage for further galactic drama as the reptilians sought to claim Tiamat for themselves, clashing with the existing inhabitants and guardians, leading to the war in heaven. After the cataclysmic destruction of the planet Tiamat and the demise of Queen Tiamat and the Seven Dragon Queens, the ancient matriarchal reign that had governed multiple galaxies for eons, came to a sudden and irreversible end. In its place, the patriarchal mindset of Ahriman, also known as Yaldabaoth or Lucifer, seized control. This marked the rise of the Draconians, who established themselves as overlords, asserting dominion even over the Anaxirian hybrid warrior tribes and reshaping the cosmic order. During this epoch, Earth, once a fragment of Tiamat, experienced a resurgence. The planet began to flourish with the seeding of not only diverse animal species, but also Adamic humans, seeded by the Lyran and other Anunnaki races, whose souls originated from the fragmented remnants of Maldek. 12 extraterrestrial civilizations, each resembling various human types, sought refuge and new cosmic missions on prehistoric Earth. These civilizations contributed their DNA to the grand experiment that was the Adamic human race, known as the Emerald Order. This genetic undertaking ensured that each human body would be resilient enough to survive any environment, with every individual carrying 12 DNA codes, each representing one of these extraterrestrial entities. The 12 tribes of Israel, which make up the entire human race, each represent a different extraterrestrial origin and DNA coding. Over the course of millennia, these extraterrestrial civilizations, guided by spiritual advisors who were directed by the creator of the universe, engaged in extensive genetic engineering, refining various species of the cosmos to thrive in prehistoric Earth's unique environment. The early seeders, alien civilization refugees and engineers, were the Arcturians, Pleiadians, Nazcals, and Lyrans, all of whom were branches of the Lemurians of Lemuria. This was the time of the establishment of Atlantis, and very shortly after the Lemurian civilization, a mix of seeder extraterrestrial races like Atlantis. These celestial architects possess the ability to jump forward in time, observing the long-term outcomes of their hominid creations and adjusting their designs over centuries. The early experimental models, such as Denisovan's Homo erectus, Neanderthals, and Cro-Magnon, man, were ultimately discarded as the later Anunnaki's failed creations. These beings, now studied in archaeology, represent earlier genetic experiments which served as precursor species to modern humans. As the soul fragments of Maldek and Mars incarnated into these early design models' primates, they gained experience and preparation for the planet they would later reincarnate on Earth, until the creators were satisfied with the perfect Adamic human form. Beneath the fiery glow of a setting sun, Lemuria stretched across the vast expanse of the Pacific, a verdant paradise untouched by greed or war. The air carried the scent of salt and blossoms, mingling with the melodies of unseen creatures that danced among the towering ferns. Mountains, ancient and wise, rose like guardians, their peaks wreathed in mist that shimmered under the silver gaze of the moon. Kailasa, a sacred sanctuary nestled high among these peaks, was the heart of Lemuria's spiritual energy. Crystalline temples, seemingly alive, resonated with harmonic frequencies, their surfaces adorned with patterns that pulsed like the heartbeat of the earth. The Lemurians, with their luminous eyes and flowing robes, moved like spirits among the trees, their every step a hymn to the planet's living soul. Life in Lemuria was seamless with nature. Homes were living structures, vines and flowers entwined with quartz and amethyst walls. Rivers wove through the settlements, their waters singing softly as they nourished the land. Beneath the surface, coral gardens flourished, shimmering like underwater cities. Dolphins leaped gracefully in the distance, their presence a reminder of Lemuria's harmonious bond with the ocean's depths. Across the great ocean, Atlantis arose like a crown upon the waters of the Atlantic. Its beauty was measured, sculpted to perfection by minds that mastered the art of creation. Concentric rings of land and water defined the capital, their geometry reflecting the Atlanteans' pursuit of balance and order. At its core stood the grand temple of Poseidon, its spires carved from orichalcum, glowing like molten gold under the sun's embrace. The city buzzed with life, a testament to Atlantean ingenuity. Roads of polished stone sparkled as crystalline vehicles hummed silently through them. Bridges arched gracefully over canals, connecting districts alive with vibrant marketplaces, where traders offered goods from the farthest reaches of the cosmos. The air carried the hum of energy, drawn from massive crystals that hovered in towers, their light illuminating the night like a second dawn. Beyond the capital lay Atlantis' lush countryside, where farms stretched toward the horizon, their crops nourished by an intricate system of canals and reservoirs. Mountains cradled hidden reservoirs of geothermal energy, while forests whispered ancient secrets in their rustling leaves. The Atlanteans, tall and resplendent, moved with purpose, their attire blending metal and silk, a balance of elegance and practicality. In the aftermath of Maldek's destruction, Hanuman, the Maldekian Martian, and the other refugees' celestial ship shuddered as it entered Earth's atmosphere, its hull groaning against the pressure of the descent. Hanuman clung to the stabilizer handles inside, his heart racing. His journey had been long, too long. He was the last of his kind, a refugee from the shattered remains of Maldek, his people scattered like ashes across the cosmos after the planet's annihilation. As his vessel broke through the clouds, Hanuman's mind lingered on memories of his wife and daughter. Below him stretched verdant forests, their emerald canopies shimmering like jewels under the light of two suns. Oceans glistened, their hues shifting between azure and turquoise. Mountain peaks kissed the sky, their caps glinting white with snow. This was Earth, a sanctuary for the displaced and the promised home of the Lemurians. Yet as beautiful as it was, Hanuman felt the emptiness beside him where his family should have been. The ship landed softly on a glowing, hovering platform, surrounded by towering trees whose leaves radiated soft, golden light. Awaiting him was a group of Lemurian leaders. "Welcome, traveler," said a woman who stepped forward, her hair flowing like liquid silver. She wore a robe made of iridescent fabric, adorned with intricate geometric patterns. "I am Amara, an envoy of the Emerald Covenant Order. You have journeyed far. Come, let us bring you to safety." Hanuman bowed his head, overwhelmed, his thoughts still lingering on the faces he would never see again. He followed the Lemurians along a winding path lined with bioluminescent flora. The air was perfumed with a sweet, unfamiliar scent, and the ground beneath his feet was soft, almost alive, pulsing faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat. The Lemurian colony unveiled itself as they reached the valley's heart. It was a city unlike anything Hanuman had imagined. Structures of glowing crystals spiraled upward, their forms blending seamlessly with the natural landscape. Waterfalls cascaded down from great heights, their mists catching rainbows in the sunlight. Bridges made of translucent stone arched over rivers that sparkled like liquid light. Everywhere, Lemurians moved with purpose, their presence serene yet vibrant. The society was an intricate balance of technology and nature. There were no harsh edges or artificial constructs. Everything was organic, flowing, and alive. Hanuman saw children playing beside floating orbs of light, their laughter ringing out like bells. Elders gathered around massive crystalline trees, meditating as the trees' energy enveloped them in shimmering auras. "Here, we live in harmony," Amara explained as they passed a glowing plaza where artisans shaped crystalline tools with their minds. "Each of us contributes to the collective. There is no hunger, no greed. We are guided by the principles of the Emerald Covenant." As he listened, Hanuman's heart ached. He imagined his daughter running among those children, her laughter joining theirs. He imagined his wife's serene face, her hand in his, as they walked through this paradise. But these visions were nothing more than shadows, fleeting reminders of what he had lost. Amara led Hanuman to a vast temple that stood at the center of the city. The temple's crystalline spires rose high into the sky, refracting light in all directions. Inside, the air vibrated with a sacred hum. The walls glowed with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and dance, telling the story of Lemuria's history and the cosmic struggles that brought them to Earth. At the heart of the temple stood the emerald crystal, a massive gemstone radiating an energy so pure that Hanuman felt his very soul laid bare in its presence. Around it stood members of the Emerald Covenant, order, guardian scholars and healers. They wore ceremonial armor that shimmered like liquid metal, their faces serene yet resolute. "We are the keepers of balance," Amara said, gesturing to the emerald crystal. "This is the heart of our covenant. It connects us to the cosmic order, to the great central sun, and to the lifeblood of Earth itself. You, Hanuman of Maldek, have been brought here for a purpose." Hanuman felt a warmth spread through him. The Lemurians had seen into his heart, into the pain he carried, and the courage that remained. Though he was a refugee, a survivor of destruction, he could still serve a greater cause. He was initiated into the Emerald Covenant Order under a ceremony held beneath the night sky, where stars blazed brighter than he had ever seen. The elders bestowed upon him a staff imbued with emerald light, its energy syncing with his own, as if it had always been meant for him. The staff would guide him, they said, as he took on his role as a protector and guardian of the covenant. Over time, Hanuman learned the ways of the Lemurians. He studied the sacred arts, learning to channel Earth's energy to heal, to protect, and to maintain balance. He meditated under the guidance of the elders, unlocking memories of his Maldekian heritage and merging them with the wisdom of the Lemurians. He forged bonds with the people, becoming not just a guardian, but a part of their community. Yet, even as he stood on a crystalline bridge overlooking the valley, now his home, Hanuman's thoughts often drifted back to his wife and daughter. He spoke to the stars, telling them of this beautiful world and the role he had taken. He told them how he carried their love in his heart, a light that guided him through the darkness. When the Anak Empire of Nibiru and the Syrian Atlantean hybrid royals arrived, They established Atlantis and joined forces with other extraterrestrial Anunnaki groups, including the Draconians, Ahel Pleiadians, and Lemurians, all of whom were multiracial, like the Atlanteans. However, the societal differences between Lemuria and Atlantis were pronounced. The early humans gave them the name Anunnaki to classify them all into one. Lemuria was a highly advanced, matriarchal, multiracial society that emphasized harmony with nature, spiritual connection, and collective nurturing. It valued feminine principles such as intuition, cooperation, and emotional balance, fostering a peaceful, nature-centric way of life. Atlantis, by contrast, was a patriarchal, multiracial society that focused on technological innovation, hierarchical governance, and domination over the natural world. It embodied masculine principles like logic, ambition, and spiritual science, seeking power and control through these traits. Atlantis was populated by humans of various skin tones, red, brown, yellow, white, and black, who coexisted alongside other extraterrestrial species, including giants. When Enki and Ninhursag, also known as Ninmah, of the Anak royals, began their genetic modifications of the hominids created by other extraterrestrial races, their goal was to correct the genetic flaws and abnormalities of these early models and also make them primitive workers for digging gold and hunting food for King Anu's empire. After years of experimentation, the first perfected Adamic man and woman were introduced to Atlantis. These initial models were based on dark, black African Adamic models, which served as the foundation for later modifications, especially after the biblical Tower of Babel incident. From these original designs, new human models were designed, same biology and codes, but various appearances. All earlier models, such as Neanderthals and Homo erectus, were discarded once the various designs of Homo sapiens spread across the Earth. The Anunnaki and founders of all races were pleased with new humanoids of Earth. The Emerald Covenant was proceeding as planned. Around 50,000 years ago, the Lemurian Holocaust marked one of the first major genocides in Earth's history. The event was orchestrated by the Anunnaki under the influence of patriarchal Melchizedek factions, who secretly allowed the Orion Group to stage an invasion. The Draconians from the Orion Group infiltrated the underground tunnels between the Lemurian and Atlantean continents. When humans discovered the invasion, they attempted to seal off the underground passages, but their efforts triggered catastrophic results, leading to the destruction of the Earth's surface. The Earth's core imploded, causing massive destruction to the Pacific Ocean continent. This destabilized the underground tunnels and created devastating earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, floods, and sinkholes that claimed thousands of lives. As the planet was thrust into chaos, the Lemurians were forced to take refuge underground, where they began organizing the repair of planetary portals and the restoration of the Ark-Gate with the help of guardian groups. This marked the beginning of a planetary cataclysm, a hidden history recorded in human DNA, which the negative alien agenda groups sought to erase to manipulate humanity into forgetting its origins, ultimately paving the way for the Armageddon software. The second attempt at humanity's evolution arose amidst this backdrop. The Syrians of Sirius B and the Nibiran royal tribes introduced the Eye of Horus, a stellar bridge designed to channel higher consciousness into physical incarnation. This initiative seeded root races 3 through Vi, marking a new chapter of human development. Integral to this endeavor were the Melchizedek race families, celestial guardians of universal balance, who descended to assist in repairing the lingering genetic distortions caused by earlier conflicts. Around 35,000 years ago, during the Egyptian dynastic era, the Melchizedek sought to use Earth's Stargate system, the Templar, to restore planetary harmony and reconnect it to the universal time matrix. However, their efforts to integrate the damaged Anu template, a remnant of Atlantean grid destruction, had unforeseen consequences. Miscalculations unleashed dark energies, destabilizing the Earth's stargates and compromising the planet's cosmic alignment. To safeguard universal balance, higher cosmic orders place seals on humanity's DNA, limiting access to the sixth and seventh dimensions and preventing physical ascension. These genetic restrictions, known as a generational curse, bound humanity to the material realm, fracturing the integrated light body and scattering human consciousness across time fields and dimensions. Healing would require the unification of these fragmented aspects, beginning with the Lemurian soul fragments tied to the second dimension and chakra, and the Atlantean fragments anchored in the third dimension and conscious mind. As humanity reincarnated through cycles of time, the process of mending emotional and morphogenetic distortions began. This sacred task, collecting and integrating lost pieces from each root race cycle, became essential to reclaiming cosmic wholeness. Yet new challenges arose during this phase. The Anunnaki Empire and Orion Empire factions, along with the Sons of Belial Marduk's factions, began defying the Elohim's and Founders' Emerald Order. The origins of lust, encompassing both bloodlust and sexual lust, stem from a deeply entrenched program of mind control, encoded into the genetic fabric of humanity. This manipulation, tied to concealed histories of forced breeding programs, was orchestrated by reptilian-influenced and refugee races seeking to exploit human genetics for their own purposes. These breeding programs did not arise from natural attraction, but from calculated efforts to fabricate desire and compatibility between species that were biologically and energetically incompatible. In ancient epochs, on distant planets, beings rarely exhibited attraction to species outside their own. This was not due to prejudice, but a natural energetic barrier dictated by their genetic coding and collective consciousness. Just as humans do not naturally seek to procreate with animals, the genetic design of distinct species resisted hybridization. To circumvent these natural boundaries, genetic combinations were artificially engineered in laboratories, enabling the creation of hybrids for specific agendas. A significant example can be found in the royal human lineages of Lyra, who naturally lacked any inclination to bond or reproduce with reptilian invaders. Yet through manipulation, these lineages were subjected to forced breeding programs, resulting in profound trauma. This legacy of violence and hybridization seeded what is now known as sexual misery programming, a distortion that continues to affect Earth. Negative alien groups, including the moon chain lineages, have exploited these distortions to enforce systems of control, feeding on the deviant energies produced by disconnection and lust. Those caught in these cycles became tools of these off-planet hierarchies. According to Edgar Cayce and others, Atlanteans lived peacefully on Earth for over 200,000 years. But then the Anunnaki started to influence and corrupt the leaders of Atlantis. The corrupted Atlanteans, known as the Sons of Belial, initiated a conflict with Lemuria. Around 22,000 years ago, Atlantis and Lemuria disagreed on how to rule the Earth. Atlantis wanted to dominate all tribes and civilizations worldwide, but the Lemurians wanted the Earth's civilizations to develop on their own. So, they ordered Atlantis to leave them alone. Atlantis refused. Lemuria insisted. Atlantis chose war. The beginning of the war was the year 10,168 BC. Plato mentions 9,500 BC as the year Atlantis was destroyed. An ancient historian named Hamos reports a terrible catastrophe that occurred in 11,000 BC. The Draconians unleashed genocidal vengeance against the Lemurian civilization. On the Lemurian continent, particularly in Kauai, they carried out massacres aimed at eradicating the matriarchal and Christos Templar influences. Women were abducted and forced into breeding programs, marking the final chapter of the Lemurian Holocaust. These atrocities were compounded by agreements with the Anunnaki, leaving scars on the collective consciousness that perpetuated cycles of trauma and displacement. During the Ayayani massacre, high-ranking female council members of several Anunnaki races, bearers of advanced DNA codes, were abducted and taken to Nibiru by Thoth and the Anak Atlantean Empire. Thoth's betrayal of the Emerald Order and theft of sacred CD plates, later rewritten as the Emerald Tablets, marked a pivotal point. These women were lured with false promises to save their loved ones, only to discover their partners had already been killed. Many rebelled or ended their lives, while others were forced to bear children for Atlantean royals and the Anunnaki, who sought to exploit their Ayayani DNA. This deepened the trauma of the divine feminine, manifesting as self-loathing, reproductive challenges, and disconnection in many soul groups on Earth today. The draconian-controlled Orion group further decimated the Lemurian population by slaughtering most females to control reproduction. Survivors were genetically altered to ensure their offspring bore modifications that served the invaders' agendas. Male captives faced enslavement or execution, and over time, the Greys were used as expendable resources in these heinous cycles. The Atlanteans had extremely advanced technology and weapons. Their technologies and weapons were beyond what we know today. Flying crafts powered by fire crystals traversed the skies. Great energy beams harvested from the Earth itself fueled weapons that could level mountains. Lemuria, not as well armed, could not avoid war. They burned the world with solar heat and tried to draw energy from each other. Rivers were changed, mountains altered, and the strength of the sun was affected. Continents were flooded. In the end, more than 60 million Lemurians died. The survivors took refuge in Agartha and later attacked Atlantis. The Earth became unstable as a result of nuclear explosions, and because of that, the Earth's axis changed and the pole shifted. All that remained of Atlantis are ancient structures like Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids. The civilization of Atlantis did not survive the conflict, but about 10,000 Lemurians did survive, and they rebuilt their civilization. This time, they did it in secret. The last of the Lemurian civilization exists today, thriving under a mountain in California. Mount Shasta in Northern California has become synonymous with the unknown. Many who venture close to the mountain report strange events, glowing orbs, unexplained voices, and a tangible sense of another presence. Mount Shasta is also considered a vortex, a place where the boundary between dimensions is thin. Native American tribes speak of its sacred power, a spot where the spirit world is accessible. There are geological mysteries as well. Why does Shasta have such a complex structure and so many different kinds of rock? Why do some plants grow there that are found nowhere else? Where did those plants come from? Legend has it that some Lemurians survived the Cataclysm. The survivors traveled to North America and brought with them plants, animals, and technology. They built a city underneath Mount Shasta. They called this city Telos, the City of Light. Eyewitnesses have described the city in detail. As you approach the hidden entrance to Telos, energy pulsates through the ground. A deep humming sound and a vibration can be felt all over the body. Inside, you are enveloped by a soft light emanating from the walls of the city. Telos is carved into 5 expansive levels, each a labyrinth of corridors, chambers, and gardens. The inhabitants of Telos are 7 feet tall and draped in flowing white robes. Despite their large size, they move slowly and gracefully. They are the Lemurians, guardians of their ancient lost civilization. Their technology is integrated with their natural surroundings, just as it was in Lemuria before the fall. In Telos, they use crystal technology. Large crystalline structures serve various functions, including healing chambers that resonate with frequencies to restore body and soul, and communication devices allowing mental connection across the planet. Transportation within the city is achieved through levitating platforms guided by thought. At the center of Telos is the Temple of the Heart, where a large crystal pulses with a heartbeat synchronized with the Earth's natural resonance. Residents of Mount Shasta claim to have seen tall beings in white robes walking at the foot of the mountain. Hikers have even followed the beings into caves, only to find them empty, except for a lingering humming vibration. In 1904, J.C. Brown, a British prospector, discovered an entrance to a cavern system under Mount Shasta. Within, he found gold, copper tablets, statues, weapons, and skeletons averaging 6 feet 6 inches tall, with some as tall as 10 feet. Despite years of preparation to reveal the site, Brown vanished without a trace before the expedition could begin. The story of Lemuria is not limited to the West. The Tamil people of South India tell of a lost continent called Kumari Kandam, which was ruled by the Pandyan kings before it was submerged by rising seas. According to the stories, Kumari Kandam was located between India and Madagascar. This land was considered the cradle of civilization. Floods at the end of the last ice age are historical fact. In 2013, scientists discovered traces of a lost continent, Mauritius, deep beneath the Indian Ocean. Mauritius was part of an ancient landmass before being submerged millions of years ago. While legends of Lemuria and Atlantis are often dismissed, recent discoveries like Mauritius suggest that some ancient myths may be rooted in truth. Negative alien groups also sought to erase the Celtic King's Grail DNA and the Melchizedek Christ teachings from Atlantis. By targeting RH bloodlines, spreading disinformation, and destroying historical artifacts, they aim to sever humanity from its star origins. During the Atlantean Cataclysm, the Chiaka Empire defeated the Great Dragon, Queen Merida, one of Tiamat's 7 sisters, and seized the 11th Emerald Founder record she guarded. This event marked the final resistance of the solar female Melchizedeks, who bore the blue staff of Mua. The fall of Lemuria and Atlantis ended the matriarchal solar female Melchizedek civilizations on Earth's surface. The Anunnaki, through alliances and conflicts, contributed to this destruction, culminating in the Lemurian Holocaust and Atlantis' decline. The introduction of the lunar craft established the lunar matrix, amplifying parasitic infiltration and sexual misery programming, which reinforced control mechanisms over Earth for millennia. The lunar matrix became a tool for manipulating Earth's magnetic fields and implementing mind control, transforming the planet into a prison under negative alien influence. This system distorted the inner feminine principle in all genders, exacerbating imbalance and suffering. In response, the Guardian Host brokered the Isis Treaty, allowing Founder, Starseed and Indigo beings to incarnate on Earth. Their mission was to recover lost spiritual connections and prepare for the decisive events surrounding the 2012 timeline. Despite the dark legacy of these breeding programs, hope remains. Some refugee races, afflicted by genetic and emotional deficiencies, sought hybridization to heal and evolve toward higher consciousness. Genetic experts in the Atlantean cycle endeavored to create hybrid races capable of reconciling fragmented souls with the divine. Yet these efforts were often exploited for control, reinforcing cycles of trauma. Still, the potential for hybridization as a path to healing and unity remains, offering the chance for all beings to transcend limitations and align with humanity's collective consciousness. These efforts for the Anunnaki to safeguard their genetic and ancestral legacy were part of a broader struggle during the galactic wars, as ancient civilizations fought to protect their wisdom from being manipulated or erased. Amidst these upheavals, Atlantis and Lemuria emerged as archetypes of humanity's choices. Atlantis, driven by a philosophy of service to self, pursued intellectual and technological supremacy, often at the expense of ethical and cosmic harmony. In contrast, Lemuria embodied service to others, cultivating a matriarchal society in balance with nature and the spiritual principles of the law of one. These legendary civilizations stand as reminders of the eternal struggle between power and wisdom, division and unity. Their stories reflect humanity's ongoing journey to achieve balance and evolve, an aspiration that once fulfilled could lift the seals of DNA and restore the collective light body to its cosmic potential. Despite the destruction and chaos, the Lemurians encoded their survival into human DNA, setting the stage for future attempts at humanity's evolution. The sacred task of healing humanity's genetic distortions continues through cycles of time. The journey remains long, but with the final integration of lost soul fragments, humanity's ascension and reunion with higher dimensions is still possible, not only thanks to the Emerald Order and the Galactic Federations and the Law of One founders, but also to the starseeds and lightworkers from various star systems. The revelations about Lemuria, Atlantis and the Anunnaki profoundly reshape our understanding of human history, our place in the cosmos, and who we truly are. For centuries, these ancient civilizations, once relegated to myth, have hinted at advanced technologies, spiritual wisdom, and cosmic connections. New insights reveal that our origins are far more complex and far-reaching than we imagined. Lemuria, a society rooted in harmony with nature and spiritual unity, symbolizes an ideal humanity once embodied and still yearns for. Its fall, orchestrated by external forces like the Anunnaki and their draconian allies, shows how our history has been shaped by interventions from otherworldly powers. Though these civilizations were destroyed, their legacy lives on in our DNA, encoded in crystals buried within Earth, waiting to be unlocked. Atlantis, driven by the pursuit of technological dominance at the cost of spiritual balance, ultimately faced destruction. It serves as both a cautionary tale and a beacon, illustrating the dangers of straying from cosmic harmony and the power of enlightenment. Its downfall mirrors our own temptations of power, control, and knowledge without spiritual growth. The Anunnaki, once seen as mythological figures, are now recognized as key players in shaping human evolution, and their genetic manipulations, interventions, and conflicts have left lasting imprints on our species. They were creators, teachers, and at times oppressors, and understanding their role offers a new perspective on the human experience. One where the lines between the earthly and cosmic blur. This newfound knowledge changes everything we once knew about our existence. We are not merely products of Earth's natural evolution, but the heirs to a cosmic legacy that spans galaxies and eons. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe for more astral legends and ancient cosmic mysteries. Our mission is to uplift and elevate the consciousness of every soul, guiding them back to the cosmic mother and father and the heavenly realms of the seventh dimension, where the creator of all resides. We do not support the Project Blue Book agenda. We do not support the negative alien agenda. And we are not affiliated with any governments, cults, or religious groups. We sincerely thank you and pray that the eternal light forever illuminates your journey. Until next time, see you in the next episode.